Hi everyone, it's Michael, and it is time to repot my Fredclarkeara After Dark SVO Black Pearl Catasetum orchid. Wow, that was a mouthful. I wasn't sure I was going to make it through it. I'm glad I did. So what I already have going is I filled this with tepid water. I went ahead and I'm soaking the orchid roots. It's been in there for about 10 minutes, so it's just about ready to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and drain the water, and then we're going to begin the process of removing the old medium. But before I do that, I want to explain my reasoning. So many people are horrified when I do things like this, but once again, I just want to reiterate, every single time I wait to repot, some disaster unfolds. Something bad happens, there's pests inside, there's snails munching on the roots, there's centipedes hidden that you never actually find anyway. There's all sorts of bad things that can come from not repotting. Now, as it pertains to catasetums, their growth habit is very specific. So they're gonna grow, they're gonna grow, they're gonna go through really fast growth until fall or winter when they kind of start to plateau. Then eventually the leaves start to yellow, fall off, and it goes dormant. So we are right towards the point in time where this would lose its leaves and stop growing. So I understand fundamentally that I may stunt its growth just a bit by virtue of engaging in this repot process, but it's it's a risk I'm willing to take for the overall well-being of the plant. And if that costs me a bloom season, I'm okay with that. So forgive me for making this choice if it really offends you, but I am going to go ahead and do it. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and drain this water, and away we go. I'm gonna go ahead and start by squeezing the old container and just giving it a gentle push. This one actually seems pretty root bound to its container, so let's see what I can do. I don't want to be too aggressive with it, but this one seems like it really does not want to come out. You bound at the bottom, bud? Let's see. Oh, there it goes. All right. Oh, and look, there's some packing peanuts right at the bottom. I'll bring you in close so you can kind of see. This is incredibly root bound. So now I'm going to begin what is almost undoubtedly going to be a painstaking process of removing the old potting medium, and let's go for it. Okay guys, so there's truly no way around it. I'm just gonna end up upsetting this root system, so here we go. So one of the things I want to point out is that I'm already feeling grateful to have unpotted this orchid because this has clearly gone without repotting for a very long time, which is evident when, and I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can actually see all of the decomposing matter on the inside. This hasn't been touched in a very long time. All of these roots are dead. And had I left this unattended, it would probably not fare very well. And it also kind of explains why the old growths look like this. This is an older plant that has definitely seen better days, and I'm hoping I can really rehabilitate it back to its former glory. All right, you guys, I just went ahead and gave the root system a rinse. I have truly never seen anything that was quite this bad. When I got to the ball in the center of the roots, the smell of rot was so pronounced I actually had to turn away for a moment. This is requiring a lot more cleanup than I thought, so I'm actually going to start clipping back some of these dead roots. And I'm probably also going to remove this because I don't know if you guys can tell. Look how papery. There's nothing. It's just an empty shell. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that as well. I'm going to start cleaning up all of these bulbs, and when you come back, you're going to see, or when I come back, you're going to see what looks like a very different plant, I imagine. All right, you guys, this is the piece I just removed, but look, there's absolutely nothing. It's like hay on the inside. There's nothing going on here. So I don't feel bad cutting that guy off. It was quite unsightly, actually. All right, friends, after a whole lot of cleaning, you can see this does look like a very different plant. Now, there's an interesting thing. As I removed some of the dead and decaying matter, you could see this was the first bulb, this was the second, so on and so forth. But I'm not quite sure things went sour for these guys. Now, I did go ahead and remove one bulb, and I'm actually going to treat this area with cinnamon in just a little bit because I want to make sure that it's not an open wound. It doesn't appear to be, but I still would like to be safe. But the interesting thing, there's a distinction here. There was no connective tissue connecting this guy to that withered bulb that I removed. But these guys, there is just a little something, so it's still withdrawing energy. And if that's the case, I want to leave them intact. Sure, they're unsightly, but I did want to leave them there for its functional reason. Now, beyond that, this plant was really in bad shape, guys, and I'm actually kind of flabbergasted. Oh, and I'm still finding pieces of old medium. I've trimmed off most of the roots. There's only a few viable ones in it. They're all coming from the new growth. But as this goes forward, I've left about a ½ inch or an inch of roots from even the dead root system because I want it to stabilize this orchid in the pot, at least for the time being. So now the next step in this process, I'm going to go ahead and just treat everything with hydrogen peroxide as it pertains to the bulbs and the roots, and a little bit of my rubbing alcohol, dish soap, and water solution for the leaves. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, now that the plant's been treated, I'm going to go ahead and give it 10 minutes to really do its work. Okay, Google, set a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes, starting now.
All right, guys, so I have finished cleaning up the orchid, and I just think it looks so different and so much nicer. But beyond aesthetics, I do think that this one is now not compacting upon itself. The roots had nowhere to go. There was rotting and decaying medium in the middle of the root system. So I feel like this is set up for a lot more success. Now I'm going to go ahead and begin the process of actually repotting. This is the container that I've chosen for it, and similar to my Nellie Eiler, I've drilled the holes at 6 centimeters as opposed to the standard 5 because I want this to be able to pull from a larger reservoir of water. Now of course when it's in dormancy that's not going to matter quite so much because it's going to stay primarily dry and just get a spritz here and there when I see things starting to shrivel. But for the time being, I think this is really going to serve its needs. So as always, I'm going to start by taking my leca pellets that are cleaned and sanitized and boiled and filling them just above where the water reservoir will end, where the drainage holes are. Now I'm going to go ahead and place the orchid, and I'm just going to fill leca right around it. And again, that's where the dead roots that I left attached to the plant come into play. They are just there to help stabilize this guy. Well, we go. So I'm actually going to put it a little bit more this way because I want it to have some room to grow outward. So now I'm going to be careful not to pot too deep because the pseudobulbs can rot if you submerge them too deeply into the medium. But they are right around where the dry line will be, so I think they should be fine. I'm just going to do it a little bit more. All right, and there it is. Now, the last step in this process is I'm going to go ahead and flush it with plain distilled water. Again, when you go through a process of treating with antibacterial like hydrogen peroxide, it strips the roots of all of the good bacteria that help it metabolize fertilizer solution. So it's just going to get distilled water. I'm only going to do that for maybe 1 week before I revisit using fertilized water because it's still somewhat in active growth and I don't want to cheat it out of the opportunity to get some nutrients. But there's also the possibility that all the roots will rot and it'll just totally get set back for a little while, but that's okay too because in the long run, this is better for the plant, I believe. All right, you guys, we're on to the final few steps. Now, as I said, I'm going to take some of this cinnamon powder and I'm just going to go ahead and apply it right to where I cut off that old rotting pseudobulb. So I just want to make sure, again, I don't think it created an open wound. I think it had kind of sterilized itself and sealed off that wound already. But just in case, I'm just going to go ahead and apply it topically right there. Make sure it gets all the way inside. Rotate and try again. All right, and that should be a nice little antiseptic. Now, the last step in this process is to, as I have been doing, use this tiny little fan to create some more air movement for my orchid. Now, the reason behind that is to ensure that if I have gotten water anywhere it doesn't belong that could potentially cause rot or future problems, that it helps to expedite the process of drying up that water. And with that, everything is pretty much done. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for spending your time with me. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. And I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.